We're asked to determine the derivative function for each function. We have f of x equals 5 cosine of sine x. The first thing to notice here is that we have a composite function because we have an inner function sine x and an outer function cosine. This indicates to find the derivative function, we need to apply the chain rule. When applying the chain rule, it's often helpful to identify the inner function as u. In this case, notice u is equal to sine x. So if we have u equals sine x, when applying the chain rule, we also need to determine u prime, which is the derivative of the inner function, or the derivative of sine x, which is cosine x. If it's helpful, we can think of our function now as just 5 cosine u. And now looking at our derivative formulas on the right, they all include the chain rule, where the inner function is u. Notice the derivative of cosine u with respect to x is equal to negative sine u times u prime. And therefore, the derivative function f prime of x is equal to the derivative of 5 cosine u, which is equal to 5 times the derivative of cosine u, which again we know from our formula is equal to negative sine u times u prime. But we're not done. We need to write this back in terms of x using u and u prime. Our final derivative function, f prime of x, is equal to negative 5 sine u, and u equals sine x, times u prime, and u prime is cosine x. You need to be careful here. We cannot multiply these two signs. Sine x is the input into the outer sine function. And therefore, this is the form of our final derivative function. And now let's look at g of x. G of x equals negative 2 sine of cosine x. Notice for this composite function, the inner function is cosine x, which we'll identify as u. So here we have u equals cosine x, and therefore u prime is equal to the derivative of cosine x, which is negative sine x. And again, if it's helpful, we can think of our function g now as just negative 2 sine u. The derivative of sine u with respect to x is equal to cosine u times u prime, which indicates g prime of x is equal to the derivative of negative 2 sine u, which equals negative 2 times the derivative of sine u, which is equal to cosine u times u prime. And now we write this back in terms of x using u and u prime. We have g prime of x equals negative 2 times cosine of u, but u is cosine x, times u prime, and u prime is negative sine x. Let's go ahead and simplify one more time. We have g prime of x equals 2 cosine of cosine x times sine x. And again, we cannot multiply these two cosine functions. The inner cosine x is the input into the outer cosine function. This is the form of our derivative function. I hope you found this helpful.